Welcome to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, aka Possibility Man. We're committed to bringing you guests who strive to better people's lives and serve as a force for good in the world. Our guest today, Richard Walsh, is a versatile individual with many talents and business experience. He is an entrepreneur and the CEO of Sharpen the Spear Coaching. His list of accomplishments is long, and I'll share only a few here. He is a U.S. Marine, an author, a martial arts champion, and an accomplished steel sculptor. Richard is also a strategist and a tactician who assists business owners in finding solutions to their problems. He's well versed in time management and shares the secrets to achieving rapid and enduring results. Richard helps business leaders scale their enterprises, take control, and accelerate their growth as they discover greater fulfillment in their lives. Richard Walsh, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Stephen. Great to be here. I am excited.
Looking forward to this conversation. But first, an announcement for our listeners and our viewers. Follow, like, and share this podcast wherever you find it. Your support matters and is appreciated. Hit that bell so you'll get a notification when when new episodes come out. Hey, Richard, I know you're also a podcast host. People don't understand that their support is important, isn't it?
It all matters. Every review, especially, review this man.
Yeah.
Reviews matter.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Hey, Richard, I got to look. The Marine Corps looms large in American culture. So I got to ask you out the gate, at what point in growing up did you decide that you wanted to become a Marine?
Well, Stephen, you're not going to believe this, but
Uh,
when I was 13, I was a pretty big kid, about 6 foot 180. I sat across from the recruiter ready to go. And he said,
Whoa, at 13.
he goes, looked at me and said, how old are you? I go,
Yeah,
well, I'm 13, but I'm ready to go.
yeah,
And he gave me some stickers. You come back as soon as you graduate high school and we'll get you right in. I was like, oh, okay.
You know, as a civilian, I've never served, but as a just a person living in the United States, the Marine Corps does an excellent job getting into us pretty early. The uniform, the Semper Fi, the hoorah, man, God. So I'm not surprised that you stood up at 13.
Yeah, it's quite an influence. It's that whole drive for, I don't know, for protecting and justice and serving at the highest level. That's what I love. That whole honor and respect and all that stuff was a big draw for me for whatever reason that was.
Yeah,
So that was the draw. You're right.
yeah. Is the Marine Corps still in you today?
Yeah, it never leaves. You don't get
Uh-huh.
to get rid of it. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
better than a tattoo. It
Yeah.
doesn't leave.
So, but thinking about your training, your years of service in the Marine Corps, your reflections afterwards, what are two or three things that you learned from them that still guides you today?
I think a big one is, and I know a lot of this stuff's in it. I think what people don't understand, Steve, when you go in the Marine Corps, they don't turn you into something.
Mhm.
They pull out what's inside of you.
Mm,
Okay. So they pull you into the mold, if you will. Right.
mm,
So perseverance, okay,
mm.
grit, tenacity, that kind of stuff. I had that going in, but they take that to a new level. Okay, it's
Mhm.
all about mission accomplishment, right? It's
Yeah.
all about achieving the goals. So that's probably the number one thing that stuck with me through boxing and martial arts and everything else I've done in business, especially.
Yeah.
I just don't. Well, as we like to say as Marines, we're too dumb to quit. just,
Yeah.
we'll just keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, yeah. With that in mind, is that where, because I love the name of your consulting firm, Sharpen the Spear Coaching, is that where that comes from? Is that from a Marine mindset?
Yeah, it really is. We have a very so it's we're honing entrepreneurial warriors on the battlefield of
Mm,
business. That's
mm,
our tagline. So sharpen the spear was very apropos. I mean, a dull spear is not going to do much, right? But we have to
mhm.
hone our tools, whether that's speaking, communicating, selling, whatever that is. And
Yeah.
to me, business is kind of an endless war. You're always in a
Yeah.
battle for one thing or another, a million different things. So, and I'm drawn to that, so it worked. So I used
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I got you. Yeah, and so there are a couple of things here that comes up for me. One is that you were a boxer, a martial arts champion. Is this coming out of the core experience, or is this coming from someplace else?
Yeah, after the no, after the core. So when the
Hmm.
core did that, got out, a friend of mine in a new box, they go, I want to box. So
Mm.
I went, and that was a fun first time. He
Yeah.
broke my nose and couldn't chew for 3 days, and it was a good time. But I went back the next day and got back in the ring. So
Wow. Wow.
because I'm that
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of something. You may recall this that President Theodore Roosevelt wrote about and spoken about back in the day,
The
and
man
he
in the
talked
ring.
about the yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what can you tell us about that, and how does that influence you as you do your work today?
So here's the thing. So there's 4 steps that you climb to go in between the ropes to get in the ring. Okay.
Mm,
They're the longest 4 steps of your life. Every day, 5 and 6 days a week, I'd get in that ring and spar with better boxers, pros, whoever, right? I would take a beating every day. And those 4 steps, I mean, I just, here I go. I mean, it was like, and that's I warm up and then you spar, then you do the rest of your workout. But every day I did. When the bell rang, game on. No
yeah.
problem, no issues, but it was those 4 steps, which is really, when I look back on, it's like, that's every day. Every
Hmm.
day is those 4 steps for me. You get in
Hmm.
the ring. Okay.
Hmm.
Business is no different. You have to get in the
Yeah.
ring. So you have to get up, you have to start, you got to get prepared, you got to warm up, and you got to get in the game.
Hmm.
So it's just, and I still hit the bag 5 days a week. I train
Wow.
very hard. I keep my skills sharp. I do 10 rounds. I love to train. I just love the whole thing about it. So it's kind of how I start my day, but it's always that reminder of what it takes. It's the courage to get in between the ropes, right? Step in
Hmm.
between and get in there and start taking shots. You get to
Yeah.
give some, but you're probably going to take more than you give, especially in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah. I like that. So, from that context, let me see if I can get this right. You've been a very athletic person for a long time. I'm
Mm.
just talking about, after high school in the Marine Corps, but you probably were pretty athletic before then. You've done boxing, you've done martial arts. Do you think that being fit helps a person, not just you, perform better in business? Do you think it matters?
Yeah, we have a saying, and it's, if you're not fit, you're not fit to lead.
Hmm.
Okay. Because I think it's so important that your health, your fitness, it all connects with the mind. Okay. It all feeds the mind. Nutrition, everything else is very important to stay sharp and not. I'm trying to give you a good analogy here. So you've got a 400-pound guy and you got a lean 180-pound guy staying straight, looking good, wearing a shirt and tie, everything else. Who are you going to follow?
Hmm.
Okay. I mean,
Hmm.
just, the call
Yeah.
goes out, who are you going to follow? I'm just saying, like, it
Yeah, I
makes a
got you.
difference. We all, you know what the great saying is, people shouldn't judge, but they do.
Hmm.
Okay. So they do.
Yeah.
So they look at first impressions, they matter. I've taught my kids that
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
impressions matter. It just
Yeah.
matters. So, um, I think that's one of the many reasons why you should be.
Okay. Clearly, and I want to get into business later, but before we get into the business stuff, clearly you've had, at least clearly to me, you've had a lot of successes, early on. Successful. I mean, everyone who starts Marine Corps doesn't finish it, but you did your term and you served for those years. Boxing, you got into the ring, you've experienced that. Martial arts, you've been successful, you've done those things. Let me ask you, right, just on those points now, did you face many adversity? I mean, were there some things that came to you hard that you had to struggle with? Even some failures that you had to bounce back from?
Yeah, failure is all part of it. I mean, so let's take boxing. Yeah, again, I'm,
Mm.
a number of years in that, but in the end, my last tournament, it was 10 seconds into the first round. A guy just threw kind of a cheesy uppercut, felt like he thumbed me in the eye, couldn't feel the left side of my face, so I took a knee. I'm like, I think something's wrong. Well, sure enough, he broke my orbit, all shifted in my face. So my surgery then was, I had 7 breaks in my nose this over time. It detached from my face. I had my whole cheekbones. I got plates, wires, new nose, had to reconstruct everything. Couldn't box anymore. So that put a pretty solid period at the end of exclamation point, if
Yeah.
you will, at the end of that. So that was actually really difficult, Stephen,
Yeah.
because now I can't do it. It went from like one day, like
Mhm.
being the champion, to never boxing again in a
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
10 seconds. That's really hard. I couldn't even go to the gym after that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
I didn't watch fights. I'm like, I was just like, okay, whatever. Like I'm not, it was very hard, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, got it. And we're going to talk about some other business adversity in a moment, but this is the Possibility Action Network. I want
Mhm.
people to understand that just because you get knocked down, it's not over. What would you, given just your experience as a Marine, as a boxer, what would you say to people who feel, gosh, I just got knocked down. What do I do now? What would you say?
So there's something I tell everybody. I mean, winning, it's easy to win.
Mhm.
Okay. It's easy to win. You can win and you feel pretty good when you win. Can you lose and come back and play the next day?
Yeah.
That's where it's at. You got to come back and play the next day. I mean,
Right.
I got all these breaks in my nose. I got every day. Having guys forbid me, I had to come back the next day and walk those 4 steps.
Mhm.
It was that return to the ring, return to the bit. Whatever you're struggling with, it's a return to it to
Mhm.
overcome it. That's what you have to do. Okay.
Mhm.
It's the whole get back on the horse, right? You get thrown off. It's
Yeah.
the same philosophy. Um, and we get punched in the face in a lot of metaphorical ways. Okay, in
Mm.
life, right? I was
Yeah.
literal. Other times it's you just business is one thing, regular life,
Mm.
problems with your kids, problem with your job, struggling making your payments on stuff, earning income,
Yeah.
losing a job. You have all of this, right? But my one kind of belief is if I can breathe, I'm in the fight. If I can take
Yeah.
a breath, I'm in the fight. And you need to apply that to everything you do. It's just not a battle. It's not just a warrior. It's not a warrior thing only. It's every day. You have to believe in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you. So, at what point did you decide that you would start the consulting firm, the coaching firm, Sharpen the Spear Coaching? What prompted you? What drove you?
So, I had a complete failure in 08, 09 of my first 20 years of business. So now I had to
Uh,
start over, 6 little kids, wife, relocate, started another business, training people, built a gym, scaled that, started another construction business. So I'm succeeding again. And people started asking me, well, how'd you do that? So I said, well, I did this. And I started in the mentor position, right? Giving advice. People, hey, how do you give them a little bit of free advice here and there?
mm,
Then I got really good at that. I'm like, well, I'm pretty good at this thing.
mm,
And so I said, I'm going to write a book. I think people should hear my story and
yeah.
how this all worked out and what you should do in this type of work. So I wrote Escape the Owner Prison, which became a bestseller. And then I'm
Mm,
like, well, it's time to coach because mentoring is
mm,
free, right? You give free advice, coaching, you get paid. And I'm an
mm,
entrepreneur. So I'm going to go the
yeah.
coaching route. so,
Yeah.
so I can
Yeah.
do this full time. And I really started helping businesses with this to really, because I saw patterns, Stephen, that
Mm,
every business gets stuck in. And that's the owner
yeah.
prison. They work really hard the first 2 years, wear all the hats, get things done. But next thing you know, 10 years goes by and you've repeated the first 2 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the prison.
Hmm. Yeah, you've said a few things I want to come back to, but firstly, it seems that what I've learned about you, that you're on a mission, that you're mission driven. And I read somewhere that you're on a mission to help 10,000 business owners create freedom, profit. And in fact, tell us about that mission of yours and how things are going with that.
Yeah. So I like to do big things. Okay.
Uh,
I'm not a little thing guy. So if I'm going to help people, I'm going to help a lot of people. But
mm,
you always should track and measure what you do because otherwise you can't improve. Right. So I said, well, let's pick a number. 10,000. I like 10,000. That's a good number. There's
yeah.
32 million small businesses in the US. I'm just going to do 10,000. Okay.
Mm,
And the reason why I wanted to do that, because I wanted to get these people out of that owner prison to give them
mm,
freedom, profit, impact. Freedom is what we went into business for.
yeah.
Control our time, make the money we want, profit, make all that, live good. But impact is what we're able to do with all of that. What we do
Mm,
with our freedom, what we do with the profit, what we do with our money, and then the impact. Who do we impact? How do we elevate our people in business, right? So that became a big thing. So I thought, okay, if I help 10,000 business owners, Stephen, and we help them get their business squared away, but don't just make their people more competent, actually make them better as people. Like, let's
Mm.
make them be better people. How can we train them to do that as well? Because they're going to take that home, and then they share that with their family. They become better. Their families are in the community. Now they're affecting the community. So instead of 10,000, I'm able to touch millions.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's where it came from. Because I wanted
Yeah.
more than 10,000. 10,000 like sounds like a lot, but out of
Uh-huh.
32 million, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
So
I got you.
but it's a goal. It's a good goal. And I really want to affect a lot of people for the better.
Look, I love your passion for sure. And I hope that you do touch millions of people in that regard. You said something earlier, just a moment ago, about having some business adversity. So I want to talk about this for a moment. Clearly, you had business successes. I would think you were riding pretty high early on. So first of all, tell me about the first time you felt you were at the top of your business game. What was that like for you, and how are things going for you?
Yeah, it was amazing. It kind of, it took 10 years. Then it really started clicking. I was kind of new in I was a custom water feature builder, became a
Mm.
steel sculptor as well, started winning big awards in publications. Everyone coming to me for, to do work. They got bigger and bigger. I was kind of the only one who could do what I did. So I got to name my price. So I got to make a lot of money. That really was going well. I did some world-class projects my sculpture, Garfield Park Conservatory, commissions for the Shed Aquarium. So you
Mm.
got stuff on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. I'm like, yeah, you're feeling pretty good. The Mayor
Yeah.
Daley's put me on committees for the city, just hand picking me and doing all this stuff. So yeah, you feel pretty good, Stephen. You really
Mhm.
are able to get full of yourself.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what your ego
Yeah.
goes really big. We had to put the double doors in the front of the house so I could get in with my head, stuff like that. But and that's actually a bad way to go, right? You get so
Yeah.
consumed with how good you are,
Mm.
you actually start forgetting about things that really matter.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's easy to believe, when you drink your own tea, it's easy to believe that it's sweeter than a lot of other teas, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
right.
Now, but then you open up, and said that something you faced, that you bottom out. I think that's a phrase you might have
Mhm.
made. You bottom out in business. Tell us about that time and what that was like.
Yeah. So in '08, everything's starting to crash, right? We see all the
Mm.
economies crashing globally. I'm a luxury item builder, right? I build water features like you don't have to have one. No
Yeah.
one needed it. Okay. It's not like
Yeah.
food or something.
Uh-huh.
So '08 came and it was November 5th of 2008. My phone started ringing and I lost a $500,000 in that day. People canceling
Whoa.
contracts. So I'm like, oh, and that was the top of the beginning of the cliff, right? That was
Mm.
just, and it continued to go that way into '09. And even on the November 5th, I hung up at the end of the day and I looked at my office manager and I'm like, I think it's over.
Mm.
I think this is not good, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, look, I gotta say it. I think you're the only person I've talked to who can say they lost a billion or whatever, in a day. What did that feel like, Richard?
Well, think about me. I have six small children in the house,
Uh,
4 years and younger, my
mm,
wife, a home, and I just lost all that. And I'm seeing the end of something I built for 20 years, like just crushing, just like we're alive, but it's going to be over. It's just a matter of time,
mm,
right? Um, it wasn't pleasant, Stephen.
yeah.
I think it's hard to grasp what it really was, especially at the time. You're just looking like, what? How could this? I'm the guy.
Yeah.
I'm the
Yeah.
guy. I do look at all the stuff I built. But here's the thing, Stephen. I always have to add this. It wasn't the collapse. It wasn't the financial crisis that ruined
Mm,
my business. It was all the things I didn't do in my business because
mm,
I'm out front being an artist and I'm out being the guy and all that stuff. So it just revealed all the holes in my bucket that
mm,
caused it to collapse. So I take ownership
mm,
on that for sure.
yeah.
But that feeling was, and I still was kind of in the fight. So I'm like, maybe I can save this.
Mm,
Maybe I can save this.
uh,
But I couldn't save it. So for
mm,
me, Stephen, I woke up one morning and I'm thinking about my kids, six little kids. I come
mm,
home, they attack me, they love to see me. I was leaving one day, my one son's chasing me down the driveway, and I'm in my truck and
mm,
he's crying, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror as I keep going. I'm like, man, what am I doing? I
Mm.
said, my kids don't care that I'm number one. They don't care what I do for business. They don't care the kind of house we live in. They don't care what I drive, how many trucks I have, and everything else.
Mm.
All they wanted was me to be around. And I was
Yeah.
never able to be around. So
Mm.
that was the big epiphany where I then walked into my office and said, we're done today.
Mm.
We're done. Went to
Mm.
my construction yard, told my guys, we're wrapping it up this week. We're done. I don't know what I'm going to
Mm.
do, but I'm not going to do this because if I continue on this path where business is first and it's what matters, I'm going to destroy my children's futures. They're going to have
Mm.
failed marriages, horrible relationships. They might be good at business. Everything else in their life, their faith, their family, all that stuff is going to be just a mess. And I'm going to
Mhm.
create a generation of like, what do they call it? Dysfunction. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm all about business. So that's really
Uh-huh.
was the big epiphany.
That's fantastic. So okay, so you're having that experience, but you began making a course correction. Can you walk us through that? And what did you learn in that process of making this adjustment?
Yeah. So the adjustments I had to look back, right? I had to go, well,
Mm.
how did this actually happen? Like, because you're the one who ignored stuff. So it's not like
Mm.
I was completely blindsided. You had a great distraction, and that was money and fame, right? That's a distraction. Money and fame is a distraction from doing things that matter, right?
Mm.
So I looked back and said, okay, well, I didn't do this and I didn't do that. Okay. So I got to do this again because I really can't work for someone. After
Yeah.
20 years working for yourself, you're unemployable. Okay. Because, well, I'm good for about 12 months. I'm the best employee you ever have, but then I got to run the company. Okay.
Mm.
So it's just,
Mhm.
so I kind of
Yeah.
just move on. So I'm not going to go through that. But I said, okay, if I'm going to rebuild a business, I have to make sure that first, all those things I missed are covered. And I need the freedom to be with my family because we're going to homeschool my
Mm.
kids. My wife's
Mhm.
in a home with 6 children. I want to be there if she calls. I want to be able to go. I don't want to tell her I'll see you
Yeah.
at 7 p.m. If it's
Mm.
noon, I say I'll see you at 12:15,
Yeah.
and I'll be there because that's what mattered to me. I said that epiphany. So I started to create my business with that understanding, and that really changed how I developed what I did.
Mm.
And it made it
Mhm.
very manageable, and it gave me peace
Mm.
because when you just start something, I call it ignorance on fire. You're just
Mhm.
going because you're excited, you're full of passion, and you'll do anything, right, to make it happen. And that's good to a point. Okay, that's
Mm.
a powerful tool to use, but you never really get a full plan. You're just running on fire, make it
Mhm.
selling and making things happen. But if you have a
Yeah.
plan, like an exit strategy, even before you begin, you can
Yeah.
reverse engineer that. Now you know what's coming because you know
Yeah.
where you're going. So
Yeah.
I say if I'm in a car in New York and I want to drive to California, all I know is to go west. Now, the good news is I'm going to see all of America because I'm going to be driving all over the place. The bad news is I'll probably end up at the Gulf of Mexico and think I'm at the Pacific. Okay, because I
Yeah.
have no
I
clue,
got you.
right? So
Right.
that's what changes. So there's a different piece that you
Mhm.
can now manage your business. You can scale and grow your business because you actually have a
Yeah.
plan and a purpose and
Yeah.
a path.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that what you just said about driving from New York to the West Coast. What came to mind immediately was to what extent did Stephen Covey influence you that is beginning with the end in mind?
That's where it comes from. And
Uh,
so here's the thing: when I heard that, that's all I ever heard.
mm,
I never read his book at that time, right? So I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And people say a lot of things like work-life balance, and they say all these little
yeah, yeah.
cliches, and no one can really tell you how to do it. Like you can tell someone begin with the end in mind, but what does that look like? I need the
Mm,
steps. I mean, okay,
yeah,
yes, I at the end I'll be dead. Okay,
yeah,
there's the end in mind. Okay, so now what do I do?
yeah,
How do I live? Okay, so
yeah,
or my business, I want to do this for 10 years and then blah, blah, blah. Well, I have to build the whole path. You have to
yeah.
create your own path. So it's cool to hear that, and that's great instruction, but I need the full process. And that's where
Hmm.
people are challenged because they don't understand the process of
Hmm.
starting with the end in mind.
Yeah, that's right. Those steps in between are very important. So let me get before because I want to ask you about your book. I got to talk about the book, but entrepreneurial warriors. I mean, that seems to loom large in your
Mhm.
vocabulary. Did you develop this kind of mindset before your setback, or did that come a little later, if you can recall?
Yeah, I really was. So to me, again, go back to the Marine Corps mindset.
Mm.
I am, you don't fail, right? It's mission accomplishment at all costs or whatever. Right? We're gonna do what we set out to do. So that went through me. So there was never a failure. It was hard work and to do things. And I did a lot of things wrong because I wouldn't take any help because I'm a Marine and I'll do this myself. It took me
Yeah.
twice as long. It was twice as hard, but I did it. But I didn't really do it, right? Because everything I lost everything in 08. But I felt like I did it all myself. But just some wisdom in my life would have helped if I listened. I had plenty in my life. I didn't listen,
Yeah.
would have saved me from all that disaster. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was what it is. But the mindset to push through, they call it grit, right? Perseverance,
Yeah.
grit. There's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. And there's a measuring scale you can take a test. And she says the greatest accomplishments is not because people are the smartest, knew the most. It's grit. She did all this research. It's a pretty amazing book. And it says they just stuck it out. That's
Yeah.
what made them great. It was nothing. It wasn't gifts. It wasn't talent. It was that. So you know what I got to do? I got to take the test, right? I got to see where I'm
Yeah.
at on the grit scale. And I'm not bragging or anything, but I was 97% on the grit scale, Stephen. So
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
out. So you're going to go
Look,
up against me. You better be ready for the
yeah.
fight.
Look, I'm not surprised. I mean, you exude that for sure. You probably exuded it though, that trait before the Marine Corps. I think
Absolutely.
the Corps found a corpsman who was before a corpsman. But I'm just saying, as the kids would say, I'm just saying, look, I want to talk to you about your book for a little bit, and I'll pull some things out of it, and then we'll kind of go from there. The title, just so we can put it into the record here, Escape the Owner Prison, the contractor's new way to scale, regain control, and fast track growth while loving life. Look, you advertise a lot in that title, especially you can love life at the same time you're building your business.
Yep.
Firstly, Richard, why did you write this book?
Because I saw patterns in every business I was working with. Okay. Whether I work with them or I knew them or I watched what they're doing, and every one of them had the same pattern that I experienced being trapped in owner prison. If they didn't open the door every day, the business didn't run. They could go on vacation for a week. They just had to call in every day to make sure the place didn't burn down. Okay. Because they don't have people, they don't have systems, they don't have processes, they don't have anything like that. So I wanted to write a book that would actually help people escape that. Whether you've been in business 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or you're just starting, avoid it altogether. Right? Because they all are in it. It's not just a random business here and there like that. It is so prevalent. All the pain points are the same. And that's why I wrote it. And the most difficult part of the whole book, Stephen, you read it. The title, and then worse than the title was the subtitle. Very difficult. Hardest part about writing a book.
Well, because you put a lot. That's what I said. You put your advertising, and there's a lot. Starting with the primary title, secondary title. I said, "Whoa, he is advertising a great deal. Let me see if he can deliver." Oh, that's big. So let's look at a few things. I want to draw a few things from your book that you kind of talk about. Don't want to do all of it because I really want people to buy this book, to study this book. But I want to touch on a few things. Here's a big one. I mean, I've considered business before. This is always the first question that I have. But you said, you talk about it's possible to help business find leads. I mean, without people to talk to, without clients, without customers, you aren't doing nothing. But you think that you can do this thing, find leads. Tell us what's going on here.
Yeah. So when you think about it, so I call sales, right? Sales is your income. It's the fuel for your economic engine. Your business is your economic engine, right? So if my car is only going to drive for so many miles till it's out of gas, and then it doesn't do what? Drive anymore. So a business is no different. You have to keep bringing fuel into the tank. That tank we'll call it, starts at leads, right? A lead is someone who might be interested in your business. Maybe like mine, they're thinking about a water feature, or maybe they're thinking about whatever, coaching. Now, that kind of thing. Okay. Now they have to go from there into prospect. Prospect is someone who raises their hand and wants to know more. Anyone can get leads. You can buy them, you can pay them, but that doesn't mean they're good. Now they're there, and now you have to go from prospect to client. So now you have a conversion process there. So when you systemize this process, right, and it's duplicatable, I can plug anyone into this process because I have a system they can follow that converts lead to prospect, prospect to lead. Right. And I can do it over and over and over again. When you get something that works, it's duplicatable. This is the whole idea behind a franchise, right? McDonald's, you get the same French fry wherever you go. That's not by
Wow.
chance, right?
Yeah.
It's not by chance. The Big Mac is the Big Mac wherever you go.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
look, I don't want to leave this too quickly because you just punched me in the gut with this one. Leads, because, for me, I'm thinking, how do I first identify a good prospect? And secondly, how do I get them to raise their hand? And then how do we get them to go through the system? Tell us more. Tell me more.
Okay.
No. Let me say this.
Easy.
Not just tell me no, because everyone who is listening, they want you to know. Tell us more.
Here's the secret. It's called
Okay.
ICP. ICP, Ideal Client Profile. You need to know in great detail, greater than you got to know your client better than they know themselves, your potential client. The ideal client profile, what you do is you build that out. You don't sell to everybody. Okay. There's no wide net stuff. You're not Walmart, or even they don't sell to everybody, right? Sell them. Do they ever sell to me? But you have to, what are you actually bringing to the marketplace, and who wants what you have? You have to detail that out. When you detail that, I mean, you have to know, are they married? How many kids do they have? What kind of house they live in? What's the median income? How many cars do they drive? Where do they hang out online? Where do they hang out offline? Right? Are they into athletics? Are they into nutrition and the health? What are they into? What makes up their life? Because they're your clients. Now, if you're in business already, or you're just starting, what I do is I go, tell me about your absolute most favorite client, the person you did a service or whatever it was, and it was the most enjoyable experience you've ever had as an owner. Oh, that's Mrs. Jones. She was so nice. Blah, blah. And they go through all the stuff. I go, that's your ideal client. Let's find more Mrs. Jones. Okay. Because when you know that, Stephen, now you can target your market. And today, today more than ever, lookalike audiences, you got all the technology to find these people. Facebook, Instagram, all this stuff, whether you're using social media or anything else. Now you understand who they are. Now you can craft your message for them specifically.
I got you. You're a professional speaker. We're going to talk about that a little later, but this reminds me of what we learned about speaking. And that is, if you're speaking to everyone, you're probably speaking to no one. What I heard you say about finding leads, if you're trying to sell to everybody, you're probably not selling to anybody.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. So here's something else I pulled from your book, and that is, and I want you to expound on these. I'll just put out a couple of phrases. On the one hand, you say, people can chase money. On the other hand, people can serve their customer. What do you make of those phrases? And how do you deal with them in your book?
I tell people the easiest thing to do in business is make money. It's the easiest thing you can do. Okay. It's really not a problem. Do everything else. That's what's hard. Take it from a guy who collapsed in 08. I made a ton of money and I lost my whole business because of stuff I didn't do. So it's really about who you're serving, how you're serving them, and why you're serving them. That why is really, really important, because if you can put the who and then what you're serving them with, and then why you do it, when you understand that and everybody on your team understands that, it's not, I'm not here's X, pay me Y for X, right? It's not a transactional exchange anymore. Now it's relational. Right? You understand you understand the benefits of your product or service, not the features. Yeah, the furnace has this many BTUs and blows this amount of air. Nobody cares. They want to know when it's 25 below outside, can they sit with their family, nice and toasty, without 9 blankets and shoe booties on? Right? That's what they want to know. Like, how's this going to make their life better? I don't care how good I mean, it's great. It's good. I'm glad there's 900 horsepower in the car. Will it still get me to the store and back to get groceries? Will I look cool in it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need to know all the features, right? So if you're going to just chase money in your business, you're going to be really dissatisfied because what
Hmm.
happens is you become what we call a builder. You'll climb that mountain really fast. You'll scale, you'll make all this money, but you're going to do it on the bodies of others. You're going
Yeah.
to create a wake full of people that you're going to use, abuse,
Mm.
step on to get where you want to go. You'll be at the top of the mountain, you and your big pile of money, and you won't have a friend in sight.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you because, I mean, as a customer, the receiving end, in fact, I heard a speaker, a businessman like yourself say this. He said, there's value in one customer. You take care of that one customer, and you can multiply it by whatever factor. That customer is many other customers. So I hear what you're saying there. You agree with that, right?
I do.
Value, yeah,
Yeah.
service your customer. Yeah. Here's something else. Find one. Look at my list because I want to find something here. Yeah, I like this, and I thought about this. You said uh, there can be the right people. I don't want to say more. I want you to talk about it, or the wrong people. And I had all kinds of thoughts about that because sometimes you think, I can do all of this if I only had the right people and the wrong people. How do you approach this right people, wrong people? Um, you know.
Well, I think it goes back to ideal client profile, right?
Mm,
Like you want to serve people who appreciate what you do. We're not someone who's just turning things out and no one cares about us either,
mm,
right? We all want worth. We all want to be recognized for what we do, right? So the wrong customers are going to be what we call takers. Okay, they're just going to take. I just want that. What are they ever doing for you? Right. And what I mean by that, are they raving fans? Will they give you a referral? Will they say when they hear someone talk about what you do and they hear it in a conversation, they could be at a restaurant and someone at another table is talking about it. A raving fan is going to get up and go, you know what? I'm sorry. I just overheard you talking about blah, blah, blah. Because you got to call this guy. He did this work for me. He's unbelievable. I'm telling you, just give him a call. Here's his number. That's the right and wrong people. When you do work for someone, you deliver more than you're paying, more value than you're being paid for. Like we were just talking about value. Those people are going to love you. They get it. All the years I did my work, Stephen, I charged a lot of money. I'm just saying, like, and no one ever over 1,000 water features I built ever said they overpaid. Matter of fact, the majority of them said they didn't pay enough for what I gave them. And I love that. Because the only one who says it was my father. He said, they pay that? That's what he said. And I go, well, Dad, you can do this stuff. They can't do it. I said, so there's a value, there's different value, a value scheme there, right? So interesting. But I think that's where it comes down to right and wrong people. You're looking not just to deliver a service, but really who you're delivering it to. Because there's a thing called lifetime profitable value, LPV. And what that means is if someone buys from you once, they're probably going to buy from you again if you did a good job, right? So let's take a car dealer, for example. I have a wife. I have 6 children. My wife and I used to have a car. We buy a new car every 3 to 4 years. That's 2 cars every 3 to 4 years. And today they're ridiculous. They're $50, $70, $100,000, right? So there's $100 to $150,000 every 3 years, just my wife and I. Now my kids are all driving. Hey, I'll send them to the dealer. We'll buy cars from them. Over 20 to 30 years, I'm a 7-figure minimum customer.
Yeah.
Think about that. Any business, I don't care if you're cleaning carpets. It doesn't, these people, they don't clean their carpet once, right? What are they worth over 10 years, 15, 25 years? That's the right customer. When they will continually call you, you're the obvious and only choice. And they call you, they're worth a lot. Now, if you want to sell the business, that customer list, there's value. I've only they've been my customer 5 years. I got 15 more years to extract, So that's how it kind of works.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like I'm hearing, develop that relationship, so they want to call you, and then you've talked about this. You talk about the value in following up with your customer, and I think a lot of business. I've been around a lot of salespeople who don't seem to get that lesson. Talk to us about the importance of following up.
So people think someone calls, they call them back, they don't answer, oh, they're not interested. All this stuff gets going in their head, right? They'll call them once or twice. The average salesperson never makes more than like 2 follow-up calls. 3 at the most. Okay. So 90% are less than 3 calls. Okay. Everything starts to happen 4 calls and more, follow-up calls. So they said they're interested. You call them, they don't answer. Guess what, everybody? They have a life and you're not a big part of it right now. Okay. They got kids, they got to get play, got to do things like, say, I had a roofing business, right? No one needs a roof today. Okay. Like, they can wait. Okay. No one needs to spend $15,000-$20,000 today on their roof, right? That's going to be a process. So there's times when I would call 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 times. And then they pick up the phone. Then you say, oh, yeah, sorry, I've been really busy. Glad you called. No one else has really called. Why don't you come out? Guess who gets the job? Mr. 15 calls, right?
That's
so
right.
Because 90% don't. So 90% of the sales are won by 10% of the salespeople.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's huge, right? I heard an entrepreneur said exactly what you're saying, and he phrased it as the fortune is in the follow-up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had no, please. Yeah.
No, you have to. Again, you're thinking about you. When you're not making the call, you're thinking about yourself. You got to think who they are, why you don't matter to them right now. You're a thing. You're like something they might want to like. It's your job to get in front of them. It's not their job. They raised their hand. Now the ball's in your court. They can't return a volley if you don't get it over the net. Right. So that's how it's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't know when they're right, but because it's their time, it's their schedule. Here's Rich, you don't appreciate this because this is exactly what you're saying to us. After I retired some years ago, I said, I don't want to buy another house. I'm done with buying houses. And then of course that changed. I talked to a few real estate agents. And one evening I got a text from a real estate agent, are you still looking for a house? And I said, yeah, I'm looking. I was, and that turned me back on. And guess what? When I bought from that agent because she followed up. Isn't that something?
Right. Yeah, it's relationship. Here's the thing. This is what we always say. Whether it's money, your work, your wife, your husband, things you don't pay attention to go away.
Yeah.
They go away.
Yeah.
Your money will go away. Your wife will leave. Your husband will leave. If you don't pay attention to them, they're going to go away. That's relationship, right? We have to build relationships and you have to maintain them.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a really good friend back 10 years ago. I haven't talked to him in 6 years. Where is he? I don't know. Because he don't talk to him. So you don't know where he left, so there you go.
That's so true. That's so true. Hey, I want to ask you one more question. We'll move on to something else, but managing people. This is huge for you. Managing people. Let me preface this by saying I remember talking with a Marine Corps colonel about 5 or 6 years ago. He said, I know how to manage, referring to himself, how to manage people. He's been Marine for over 20 years. How do you manage people? I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, because I've been around some generals who felt they knew how to manage. One of my employers, he knew how to manage people. And he came in as a general into this institution, Richard. He caused all kinds of messes because he thought he understood leadership. How do you manage people without driving them nuts?
So just a quick point on the colonels and the generals and the officers. You're managing Marines, so you're managing Army. You're managing people who have been indoctrinated into a system, a chain of command. They're taught to take orders. You're not managing people. You're telling people what to do. Okay, there's a difference, right? Because we don't in the Corps or anywhere else, you don't get to be a free thinker. We're under a different code of justice, a uniform military code of justice. We can't say certain things. We can't do certain things. That's not managing a free thinking civilian who's going to tell you jump off a cliff as soon as you tell them you're going to have a grabber. A lot of these guys end up not being able to run. They could run 500 people in the Corps, but they can't run 10 at a landscape business. You know what I mean? Because it's just a different thing. So you're exactly right, Stephen. So people, the important thing with people is you got to understand that people are purpose driven. Okay. If you want people to perform for you, they have to go, they're about purpose. Money is like third or fourth on the list. If you think just because you can pay someone a lot of money, they're going to be awesome, you are sadly mistaken, because they're not going to follow directions. They're not going to follow your systems. Okay. They're going to sell you out for 50 cents an hour and go down the road. If money's all that matters to them, why do they want to, why do they want to complete the why we talked about with your customer when all they want is the money, right? There's no vision. There's no purpose there, right? So it's purpose. Second would be recognition and feedback, quality feedback. Like, am I actually doing a good job? Do I need, they want to hear that. It's not in a negative way, but, and then they want, hey, you're doing a great job. They want recognition, right? Then money kind of slips in there. Money's third or fourth. Now, everyone wants to make money. Don't get me wrong, but if they're doing the first two, right? So we call it calling, character, and competency. So competency is number 3 for a reason. I can always increase skills. I can always make people better at the job, right? Character, you're coming to me as an adult. Yeah, that's above my pay grade. I'm not fixing your character. You either come with the right character or you're going to have to work somewhere else. Calling is the difference. Let's use customer service. You meet that person who's just bubbly and nice, and they love people. And you can just see it's just genuine, it oozes out of them. And you talk to them. I love talking to people. I love helping them with their problems. That's a called person for my customer service department. So the character, the competency, they'll probably be good. I can make them even better, but they're called to be there. They want to do that job. Now, create a vision in the company that's moving the whole thing forward, not what you're doing now, but what's happening in the next 18 to 24 months. People get the vision. It's not a mission statement. It's a vision. And they understand where they fit and how they're the hero in that entire journey. Now they come to work with purpose, because if they're not there, they know they can't fulfill that great outcome, that why. Beyond even the delivery of the service or product, right? So when you hire that way and you have the tools like a strategic vision you present to them before they even walk in the office, they choose to be there. They earn the ability. They choose to work there, and they understand everybody's going to the same place. They're not just putting A into B all day. That's really how you manage people and get great people at the same time.
That buy-in is important for sure. Hey, I know that balance, work-life balance is important to you. And there are a couple of things that you like enumerate. I'm going to have you pick about one or two of those things that are important as a person tries to balance his life or her life.
So let's do this, Stephen. So let's say you own a business. We're going to do this in the business realm, because that's where people have the most difficulty. I get you can have a very difficult job and it takes your time and you want to do the same thing, and you can apply this the same way. But you're a business owner and your business is kind of a hot mess. Okay. You're in the owner prison. You're trapped. It takes all your time, all the hours. You can't break that. So we have this thing for the balance. I call it the 5 F's. Okay. As in Frank, it's faith, family, finances, fitness, and friendships. Okay. Those 5 things, that's what's going to create your balance. Now, I have some bad news for you. If that business is a hot mess, you aren't doing anything with the 5 F's. You can't. So you have to fix the business first. You have to get other people running, get it systemized, get the processes, get your freedom back. Go from your 70 hours a week to 20. And you can do that. We help people do it all the time, right? Now you can go faith, family, finances, fitness, friendships. Now you can create the balance. But when people come up and tell you you need work-life balance and they kind of trot away, and again, we're back to they don't tell you how, it's kind of irritating. Are you running a business? You're telling me, who are you to say this to me? But if you don't correct that business, because that's your income generator, right? You got to feed the family. You got to make money. You got to make impact. We got to do these things, right? We want the freedom. So, but fix that, then balance can truly happen. That's where it's at.
Yeah. You, and gosh, I think maybe I'm looking at a lot of business people, but you tend to suggest that you can automate certain things in your business, that it doesn't have to be you got to do it all, turn on the lights, do the taxes. How do you just give us some examples of automating?
Okay. So, and there's 3 things. Okay. You brought it up. There's automate, delegate, eliminate. Those are the 3 things you want to do. So we'll talk automation. Okay. Automating is, people talk about systems, processes, or machines, right? You can have automated machines, right? You program and they do the work. They cut all the boards. They do this stuff, right? That's automation. Also, automation is your software programs. that help speed the process of entering information or instant reply to customers, right? You have chat bots and things of that nature. You have virtual assistants, right? You can hire a virtual assistant who's answering the phone and answering all the basic questions, read or setting appointments. They're doing follow-up calls. Oh, there's some automation. No one wants to. You start calling, someone, you got to call someone 15 times and you have 97 of those leads. You're in the thousands, right? Of phone calls. You're not doing that, right? So let's hire that. Let's automate that process. And they call and they set appointments and they do all that. So a lot of great ways to automate your business. You have to become a systems thinker and start to see, well, who else could do this? And it's inexpensive. It's not like you have to spend all this money to have it happen. All those tools are there today, especially back in my day, 30 years ago. Nope, it was all hire someone to do this. Right now, it's a very different world, which is to our advantage, right? You have AI, you have all this different stuff. Now, delegate is the next thing. This is really important because it's not abdicate. Don't just tell someone to do something and you think you've delegated. That doesn't work, Stephen. You have to build a lane for that position to operate in. Expectations, job functions, everything's what they do, how they do it, the consequences if they don't do it, what happens. You build that out, you get someone with that level of competency, even if it's not up to yours, you get them up, they can get in that lane, they can run to the goalpost, right? That's proper delegation, but you have to build that out. That's part of automation systems and processes. Then you can hire great people because a great person does not want to work in your mess. Okay. They might be the best closer in the world. And they come and you think they're going to build out your sales process. You're mistaken. They want to sell and close. They want to make money. Okay. That's what they do, but they don't want to build a business. Otherwise, guess what they'd be doing? Building their own business. Okay. So you have to prepare these slots, if you will, for your people to bring them in. Now you can delegate properly. Now you've automated, you've delegated. Wow, we got people doing stuff. They know what to do. They don't have to come to my office and ask me. I have these other parts all automated. Now we got elimination. And on the surface, you're like, okay, eliminate, cost overruns, inefficiencies, over hiring, things like, okay, good. But you're leaving off a very important thing you have to eliminate. And that's you as the business owner. How do you step out of this? Who, again, back to delegating, who you delegating, who you putting that in? How do you, because we want you as the owner to work on the 5% only you can do, which is vision, reeling in the big clients, right? Understanding growth, where you're going, work on strategy. That's what you should be focused on. And that's how you get all those hours down to 15 or 20 a week.
Wow. And that means trusting your team, the team that you've put in place. Hey, Richard, I see you as a human development coach as well. I mean, I know you're a strategist, tactician. If you don't see yourself that way, just bear with me for just a moment. I see you as a human development coach as well. And from my experience, and I've talked to a lot of people, some people are faced with limiting beliefs. Some people have this I can't kind of story. How do you help and how do you work with someone who is struggling with just believing that they are enough?
I think what you have to do, Stephen, you have to make them glance backwards. Okay. And what that means is they have to look back and go, like, let's talk about what you've done to this point. Give me some things you've done in your life. And then you break that down because there's other people who haven't done that, regardless of what you've done. Everything is different. Like, well, if you accomplish that, you can do the next thing. The problem is people want to go from 3% to 97% in one leap. They don't understand the progression of achievement. Achievement happens every day in little steps. So you have to first be able to set where you want to go. And then just like exit strategy we talk about, you have to extrapolate backwards, start with the end in mind. That can be a goal. Yeah. A goal is the end in mind. Extrapolate backwards so you know the process, so you can chip away at it. You can do it every day. If I've got a 3-foot circumference oak tree and I got to chop it down with my axe, okay, am I going to do that at one time? Or every day if I come out and do 3 swings, chop, 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 put it down, next day, chop, 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 guess what happens eventually? The oak tree comes down. Indeed. I just did a really big thing. Because I took my time, I was consistent, I stayed in the game. Yeah. You have to show them that. You really have to show them like it is achievable. You're just trying to jump to the end. And the
Hmm.
great saying I heard, one of the best I've ever heard, is I'm here quoting kids today. Okay. Kids today, they want to be discovered, not developed.
Mm.
They, they,
Wow.
they want to jump right. I want to be an influencer. Well, why,
Hmm.
why would that be? Because I look good. It's like
Mm.
they don't understand the development process. You know, the old saying,
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
overnight success only took 10 years, you
That's
know?
right. I've heard that for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But people don't
Yeah.
want to do that. So in the development thing, you have to understand, like, it's all a process, man. You have to prepare to work.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of cliches. Nothing good comes easy. You got to work.
Mhm.
The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. You can go on and on
Yeah.
with all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's helping them understand the work that's involved and the
Yeah.
pace of that work. That's what I think helps them the most.
Yeah. I gotcha. Well, a lot of people also struggle with mistakes, with their personal mistakes. And sometimes people give up because they've made a mistake. They feel it. So how do you work with someone? How do you even a business failure because of a mistake? How do you work around that with people?
So what I do, I mean, first I can share my story. Most people haven't failed as big as I have, so I get a
Hmm.
leg up on them. Talk.
Yeah.
Oh, we want to compare failures. Okay, sit down. Pour me a cup of coffee. We're going to have a talk. Okay, because
Mm.
I can share some failure with you. But the whole thing again, like coming back the next day, you lose one day and you come back the next day and continue.
Mm.
The same thing in this is mistakes are all opportunities. Problems are opportunities, right? Failure is opportunity to learn. Failure isn't
Mm.
the end. It's treating failure like the end. And believe me, I know you can get in the whole psyche aspect. Oh, I was
Mm.
brought up, and every time I did something wrong, my dad said this, or I did this. I'm never good. We can get in all that. We can spend hours talking about that stuff, but I don't care about that. I want to fix it now. Okay, those are issues are there, but I'm going to give you tools right now that failure. Okay, stop. You failed.
Mhm.
Let's analyze the failure very quickly. This is the glance. You're back to glancing backwards. What happened? This is okay. Let's not repeat that. All we do to fix that is like having a tactical issue in your business.
Mm.
A
Mm.
problem rises up. Oh, and what we're going to do? Everything is I call it a little fire. Put the fire out, and that's what most people do. Then they get back to business, but the fire flares up again 3 weeks later.
Mm.
Okay, because you never fix it, you just put it out. It's like
Uh-huh.
treating a symptom, not the cause. So we want to put the fire out and then create a system that prevents it from happening again.
Mm.
Right. So we take the failure or the fire, however you want to look at it, what happened, analyze it, break it down. I know this isn't like, it's really not complicated. It sounds like you're going to spend 3 days figuring out what you did wrong, but you're just going to look
Mm.
and go, okay, so what's important right now? We do this, this, and this to keep this from happening. I did this over here. That's why this happened here. So
Mhm.
if we don't do that, we fix that, this can't happen. Okay, let's build this and fix that. The failure is now a learning experience that now makes your business run better
Mm.
or
Mhm.
solve the problem from happening again. And you
Yeah.
rinse and repeat that.
Yeah. I love what you just said there. The failure is just a learning experience. You can
Yeah.
fix that. I love that a lot. Hey, Richard, is there anything else that's in your heart that you want to share with us today?
Wow. I want to encourage people to do something, and most people don't say this, but I want people just to continue to go out and do hard things.
Mm.
I want you to, like, I do it in the gym in the morning. I hit the bag, I work on it, and I, like this morning, killing myself. I mean, I get done, I'm a lunatic. Okay. But I'm soaked to my shorts. I work, but I do hard things, whether it's in your business, in your daily life. Go do something that challenges you, even in the littlest bit. Stay out of absolute comfort.
Mm.
People they're obsessed with absolute comfort,
Yeah.
and it's a killer. It will
Yeah.
not move you forward. It will not help you take action. You got the
Yeah.
possibility action network here, right? It's
Yeah.
possibility, but you got to do. It's like potential's
Yeah.
great, but it ain't nothing if you don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
What
I
the
like
old
that.
the old saying, "What have you done for me lately?"
Yeah. Yeah. I
That was
got it.
great. That was great yesterday, but let's talk about what's tomorrow. So do hard things. That's what I'm gonna leave them with. I just love
I,
that.
I love it too, Richard. I tell you, it has been a joy talking with you today. I'm so glad we got connected, and thank you so much for sitting with me.
Stephen, this has been awesome. Really, really great show. I really appreciate you having me on.
Okay. Well, you've been listening to the Possibility Action Network podcast. Our guest today has been Richard Walsh, the CEO of Sharpen the Saw Coaching. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton. Until next time, good day.
You are not alone. Just keep on, keep on, keep on going. Just press on, press on, press on.